Maria Santos thought her role as a Filipina embassy translator in Dubai would keep her safe, until she was assigned to Sheikh Khalid Al Maktoum's inner circle, where every meeting was sealed, every record was erased, and one final entry into a locked safe room became the last trace of her existence. In the heart of Dubai's diplomatic district, a young Filipina embassy translator begins her new assignment with careful optimism. She arrives with strong credentials, fluent language skills, and a reputation for precision in sensitive diplomatic communication. Her role places her inside high-level meetings where business leaders, government-linked figures, and foreign delegates negotiate behind closed doors. The environment is strict, polished, and heavily monitored, where every word carries weight and every gesture is recorded in official memory. During one evening assignment at a luxury hotel reserved for exclusive diplomatic gatherings, she is assigned to assist a confidential session involving a powerful Dubai Sheikh. He is known across international circles for his influence in both business expansion and political consultation. Unlike others in the room, he speaks little and observes everything with quiet control, surrounded by security personnel who maintain constant vigilance. The translator's presence is meant to be routine, limited to converting formal discussions between languages, yet her professionalism draws attention. Their first encounter is brief, occurring during a pause in the meeting when her translation is requested directly for a sensitive clarification. The exchange is purely functional, but the Sheikh notices her composure and accuracy. After the session ends, her name is quietly noted by his administrative staff for future assignments. In the following days, she is repeatedly requested for similar high-level meetings, always under official embassy scheduling. What begins as ordinary duty slowly shifts into a pattern of exclusive appointments that separate her from regular embassy work, setting the foundation for a connection that no one openly questions at first. Her assignments soon shift from structured diplomatic meetings to quieter, more exclusive engagements that are not listed in the regular embassy rotation system. She begins receiving last-minute calls routed through senior coordinators, often bypassing normal approval steps. The locations also change, moving away from government offices and official venues into private luxury spaces secured for high-level guests. These environments are controlled, with restricted access and minimal staff presence, designed to maintain complete confidentiality. Within this new pattern, her role remains officially unchanged, yet the nature of her work feels increasingly detached from standard diplomatic duties. She is often transported in embassy vehicles without accompanying colleagues, and her movements are logged under broad administrative labels that reveal little detail. The Sheikh's administrative network begins to coordinate directly with embassy liaison officers, ensuring her availability is prioritized without public explanation. Over time, her presence becomes more familiar within the Sheikh's private circle. She is seen during closed consultations held in penthouses overlooking the city, where discussions involve international investments and strategic partnerships. The interactions remain professional on the surface, but the exclusivity of her access sets her apart from other translators. At the embassy, her reduced participation in daily operations becomes noticeable. She attends fewer group briefings and declines routine assignments, citing workload adjustments. No formal complaints are recorded, as her performance remains technically compliant with expectations. However, quiet observations among colleagues begin to grow, especially regarding her sudden elevation into sensitive assignments without clear justification. Despite increasing curiosity, the lack of documented irregularities prevents any official inquiry, allowing her involvement in the Sheikh's private engagements to continue without interruption or oversight. As the pattern of exclusive assignments continues, subtle changes in her behavior begin to emerge that do not go unnoticed by those who previously worked closely with her. She becomes increasingly isolated, choosing silence over conversation during shared breaks and limiting her interactions to brief professional exchanges. Her once consistent presence in common embassy spaces gradually fades, replaced by unpredictable appearances tied only to high-priority requests. Her official schedule grows harder to track. Internal systems show frequent overrides, with her name appearing under confidential categories that restrict visibility even to mid-level supervisors. This lack of transparency creates unease among administrative staff, but the hierarchical structure discourages direct questioning. Her workload no longer follows normal diplomatic rotation, and she is often unavailable for standard translation duties that once defined her position. The Sheikh's security apparatus begins to play a more visible role in her movements. She is frequently escorted by unidentified personnel who do not belong to the embassy's approved security list. These escorts manage all entry and exit points during her assignments, ensuring no interaction with external staff occurs without supervision. Her independence during work-related travel effectively disappears. Colleagues notice she no longer joins informal gatherings or routine debriefings. Even when physically present, she appears distant and preoccupied, avoiding engagement beyond necessary professional output. Attempts to reach her for clarification about her changing role are met with procedural deflections or delayed responses through official channels. Over time, her identity within the embassy begins to feel fragmented, as if her presence exists only within tightly controlled assignments that leave no room for personal visibility or routine accountability. One evening, she is assigned to what is described in official records as a high-level confidential translation task requiring absolute privacy. The assignment is marked with elevated clearance, limiting access to only a few authorized personnel. She is transported directly to a fortified private residence linked to the Sheikh, located in a restricted zone known for extreme security control and limited surveillance transparency. The structure itself is designed with layered entry systems, biometric verification points, and internal monitoring that records movement without external broadcasting. Upon arrival, she is processed through multiple security checks that differ from standard embassy protocols. Her entry is logged, but the details of her assignment remain vague even within internal systems. She is escorted inside alone, while embassy-linked coordinators remain outside the secured perimeter. The residence operates under a strict silence of movement, where staff presence is minimal and communication is handled through encrypted channels. Inside the building, she is directed toward a reinforced private chamber designated for confidential document handling and translation review. The room is described in facility records as a controlled isolation space intended for maximum security processing. Once she enters, all external access points are sealed under automated protocol, indicating the beginning of a locked cycle operation. Surveillance feeds continue to show static interior indicators, but no visible movement beyond entry confirmation. Shortly after, the Sheikh's scheduled international travel is officially recorded, placing him outside the country. This timing creates a gap in immediate oversight within the residence. The system logs show no exit confirmation from the chamber, but no alarm is triggered initially due to the assumption of ongoing secure work. Hours pass without any update, and the sealed condition of the room remains unchanged as internal monitoring continues to function without manual intervention. As hours pass without any communication, concern begins to surface within embassy coordination channels. The translator's absence is first treated as a scheduling delay, but her unresponsive status across all official contact points quickly escalates the situation. Her communication devices remain inactive, and internal tracking systems continue to display her last known location inside the Sheikh's secured residence. Requests for clarification are sent through diplomatic liaison officers, but responses are slow, indirect, and carefully limited. Within the residence, the sealed chamber remains locked under automated security protocol. Technical staff initially assume a system cycle is still in progress, as such chambers are designed to maintain isolation during sensitive operations. However, repeated status checks show no active translation activity or authorized extension of the session. The lack of any exit signal becomes increasingly difficult to ignore. Embassy officials escalate the matter to higher authorities, triggering a formal inquiry request. At the same time, communication with the Sheikh's administrative network becomes restricted, with responses filtered through multiple intermediaries. The delay in verification creates growing uncertainty, but access to the residence remains tightly controlled, preventing immediate intervention. Eventually, specialized technicians are authorized to assess the sealed chamber. The process requires bypassing multiple security layers designed to prevent premature entry. When the system is finally opened, emergency protocols activate immediately due to the unexpected internal condition of the space. Personnel inside the residence are placed under strict containment procedures, and all external communication is temporarily suspended. The situation rapidly shifts from a missing person report to a high-security incident. Official documentation of the findings is restricted, and only limited references are entered into administrative records. Embassy channels receive confirmation that the chamber has been accessed, but no detailed explanation is provided regarding what was discovered inside. As the incident moves beyond a missing person case, formal investigations begin under multiple jurisdictions, but progress is immediately slowed by diplomatic restrictions and jurisdictional overlap. The residence is classified as a protected high-security location, which limits direct access for external investigators. Requests for full inspection are delayed or redirected through official channels that provide minimal transparency. This creates an environment where information is fragmented from the start. Initial evidence collection is inconsistent. Surveillance records from the residence show gaps in time sequences, with certain segments unavailable due to system maintenance cycles logged shortly before the incident. Entry logs confirm the translator's arrival, but subsequent internal movement data is incomplete. These irregularities raise concerns among investigators, yet no direct conclusions can be established without full system access. The Sheikh's representatives issue statements asserting that all procedures were followed according to internal security protocols. They emphasize compliance with diplomatic standards and deny any procedural violations. However, independent investigators are not granted permission to conduct on-site verification, and key areas of the residence remain sealed under security clearance protections. At the embassy level, internal audits begin quietly. Her personnel file is reviewed, and her assignment history is reconstructed, revealing the unusual pattern of exclusive high-security engagements. However, several records are found to be partially inaccessible or missing entirely, further complicating efforts to trace her final hours. As pressure builds, the case becomes politically sensitive. Discussions shift from investigative clarity to diplomatic stability, and cooperation between agencies weakens. Media inquiries are met with controlled responses, offering no substantive detail. Over time, the investigation loses momentum, constrained by restricted access, incomplete data, and the influence of powerful institutional interests that limit how far the inquiry can proceed. As weeks pass, the urgency surrounding the case gradually fades from public attention, replaced by controlled silence within diplomatic and governmental channels. Official communication regarding the translator's disappearance stops expanding, and no new verified updates are released. Internal records are quietly marked as closed or pending review without further explanation, signaling an unspoken decision to contain the matter rather than pursue it openly. The Sheikh resumes public appearances in international business forums, maintaining his established influence without visible disruption. His activities continue under normal schedules, and no formal restrictions are publicly acknowledged. Within elite circles, the incident is rarely discussed directly, and when mentioned, it is treated as an unresolved administrative matter rather than a criminal inquiry. The residence where the incident occurred returns to routine operation, with security levels restored to standard protocols. The translator's absence, however, remains permanently embedded in restricted archives. Her name is removed from active assignment lists, and references to her final deployment are sealed under confidential classification. Embassy staff are instructed to avoid informal discussion of the case, reinforcing a culture of silence around the event. No official conclusion is ever released explaining what happened inside the secure chamber. The lack of closure becomes part of institutional memory, passed quietly among those aware of the incident. Over time, the story transforms into a cautionary reference within diplomatic environments, highlighting the risks of overlapping authority, restricted access, and unchecked secrecy. The locked safe room remains an unanswered symbol of the case, never reopened publicly and never fully explained. The truth behind the final moments is never confirmed, leaving only fragmented records and unanswered questions preserved behind layers of diplomatic protection and institutional discretion.